everybody. This is Star from HDS Designs Now. I hope y'all are doing really good. Today's video, I wanted to show you how I make some really simple, very cute, adjustable wire rings. Any size that you want to make. Excuse my dirty nails. And with any color wire. It's pretty much just whatever you kind of think of. You can see I used 2 wires on this one. I used 3 wires on this one. You can do any kind of different wrap that you want to do. Pretty much, it's such a variety of how you can do this. But in today's, I'm going to make one similar to one of these. We're just going to come up with it as we go. But I'm going to use a 20 gauge silver with a 26 gauge silver, of course both pair wire. For these little rings, I do like to use a 20 gauge rather than an 18, but you can use an 18. Okay, and I like the 26 because it gives a little bit of thickness. And I think I used a 28 on this one. And you can see it's just a little bit more dainty. It's just whatever you want to try to use. You can always use a 30 gauge instead of a 26 even. Or you can go a little thicker or whatever you want to use. You may also want to have a ring mandrel handy. If you don't, you can always use a... You can use a nail... polish lid. Probably not one that's graduated like this, but you know, something just straight round. Probably a little bit more like this. This is still graduated, but it's not as bad. But something that's about the same size as what you're wanting to have. So it doesn't matter. I mean, you could even, like this, you could use a little lipstick tube, chapstick tube, whatever you happen to have on hand, you know. So you're going to need at least a pair of flush cutters of some kind. You will want a pair of round nose pliers, especially if you're going to kind of swirl the ends up. And you will want to have some kind of other flat pliers to flatten the ends of your wrapping wire down. So let's get started. Alright, and as we get started, you want to have however many pieces of your base wire for your ring. I'm going to make a 2 base wire ring. So of course I have 2 pieces. These are 6 inches long. You can make more, you can make less. You can make it longer, you can make it shorter, whichever one you want to do. And I have gone ahead, as you can see, I've cut off about 2 feet of my 26 gauge wrapping wire. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start just doing some simple coiling around this first piece, and this is going to be like the decorative part on the end, on whichever end is going to end up being. And this way I've already kind of got that done. Otherwise, you may, if you want to leave that for the end, you may want to start in the middle of your ring, which you can do either way. I think I've done it like that before, and I think it kind of did turn out a little bit better, but we're just going to go with this for right now. So I'm going to push it to about right there, and I'm going to leave a little bit of a tail, as you can see, because this is going to be way more than what we're actually going to need. So I'm going to add the second base wire underneath, and you see I still have this tail, and it's completely fine. If you want to go ahead and cut that off, you can. So at this point, you can see they're kind of not wanting to sit side by side, and especially it's going to be difficult for me to hold these. So this is when I love having these little bitty 3/4 inch spring clamps. These come in really handy for a small project like this, making rings. And sometimes it does not want to hold, and that's mostly because, you know, this one's holding where the wrapping wire is, and this one doesn't have any on there. So it's a little tiny bit difficult, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push it up. I'm going to put these side by side about where I want them. And then I'm going to put the clamp below where the wrapping wire is. And there we go. Ta-da! I love that. Oh, I love that. So I'm going to bring my wrapping wire underneath the bottom wire that right at the moment does not have any wrap on it. You want to try to make sure you keep your wires side by side, parallel to each other. So I'm going to wrap 1, 2, all right, and then I'm going to wrap both together. So that's 1 and that's 2, okay? And I'm always going to take my fingers and I'm going to push it tight, and that way it stays tight. You don't necessarily want to pull your wrapping wire tight, because then you might get them so close that you can't actually do any wrapping. But you do want to make sure you get them tightly together, okay? Now we're going to bring our wrapping wire in between the two, okay? Get it down tight. So that's 1, and again, whoops, 2. Now we're going to bring it down and back around the bottom. 1 and 2. And this just happens to be the wrap that I've chosen to do. You do not have to do this wrap. You can do whichever style of wrap that you want to do. And then I'm going to go back up and over both twice. Okay, push them down against each other, and then back up and around just the top. And you see how I'm doing it? I'm kind of forcing the wire to kind of sit where I want it to prior to putting it down, so that it kind of says, oh, that's where I want to be. You know, another little handy tip I learned from Yvonne Williams. So now I've done that part, and I'll let you get a good look at it. There we go. So now I'm just going to take a few minutes, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap probably about 2 inches or so of this style, and then I will be back. Alright, I am back, and as you can see, I've actually almost, I'm just under 2.5 inches on this. So, and as you can see, I'm kind of getting a little close to the end on this side. I need to push it down a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and finish up doing just a little bit more wrapping. And I did end up having to move my clamp down. Of course, I had to take my clamp off when I went to measure, but I've got enough now that it's fine. I can hold it together. So it's just a repetition of 2 and 2 and 2 and 2. Very simple wrap, or something very easy, very kind of beginner friendly. You could say that if you've got, it's all about what kind of wire you have. I did learn the hard way that wire bought at Walmart is not always the best wire. Once I actually got some good wire, that's when I realized, oh my gosh, what a difference that the wire makes. So I'm not necessarily saying you have to get power wire, but I'm saying that store-bought wire is not always necessarily the best to use. So, okay, real quick, I should be, let me measure how much I have now. And I am actually just a little past 2.5 inches, and that is not counting the coiling right here. So from here to here, it's a little bit past 2.5 inches, so it should be fine. So now I'm going to take my bent nose pliers, which you don't have to use bent nose pliers. This is just what I grabbed. And I'm going to get this, and I'm actually going to try to push it down this other way. Woo! And you can see it pushed out. And that's not really what I want, but it is. It'll work. And just kind of getting it to go in the other direction without doing it too much. Let's see. And it might not work, which I'm hoping it will. But I think what it is that I may have wrapped a bit too much, but I can make it work. So we're just gonna push it back So if you realize that you're too far to one side, before you get too much wrapped, I would say that would be when you want to get everything squished down, because this is giving me a bit of a hard time. And you see it's splayed out right here. I'm going to try to push it together as much as I can. Whoops. And then that happens. Lord of mercy. That's when a good pair of nylon pliers, nylon jaw pliers, comes in handy. And also, if you wanted to go through and flatten down that wire, these are really handy for that as well. They're also really handy for straightening the wire. Just going to get all this good and tight up next to each other, because I want it to be a really nice, really tight weave. So I got a little bit more I could get down in there. Let's see. And I got my weave really good and tight, I'm telling you. But that's what you want. You want it to be a really nice, really tight weave. I'm going to take that off. I'm actually just going to cut it. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to cut it as close as I can to the wire. I'm going to use these for the moment, so I'm going to have to kind of splay this out. But you can use your round nose pliers. You might find that a little bit more handy to get, which I'm trying to remember to stay on camera. Alright, so now, as you can see, I ended on the top wire, but I started on the bottom wire. So you can choose to do either or. You can either continue and just do your coils on the bottom, or you can get it to match, where you both have the coils on the top. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to finish this up. I'm going to do the coiling down here. So I'm going to actually bend that up so it's out of the way. And I'm just going to coil. If you are picky, or I shouldn't say picky, but if you want to, you can, when you coil this side, you can count how many you did so that you have the same amount on this side. But I like it just being random. You know, I like just doing whatever feels right, you know. Because what if you want, you can see like with this ring, there's more coils on this one than there is that one. Somebody might like that look. So do whatever feels right. Okay, so I'm actually, since I don't have a whole lot of wire left, I am going to finish using it up. And I'm just going to wrap. Rappity wrap, wrap, wrap. And every now and then you do want to come through, tighten it down so you get some really nice looking coil going on. And the key to coiling by hand is you want to kind of keep the wire this way as you wrap, but in a way is you kind of want to stay straight, because if you go over too much like this, you see it will over wrap, and you don't want that to happen. If that happens, you just unwrap, and then you make sure you kind of move that part slowly, that over wrapped, and then you just keep going. Because once you over wrap, that wire, you know, like I said, it kind of, like Yvonne has even said, the wire kind of has a memory. So it's going to want to go back and do that exact same thing that it did. So just kind of be mindful and be careful of your wire. Keep an eye on it, you know. You know how wire can be. And I think actually, instead of trying to get that to flatten out, I'm just gonna cut it. It's just gonna be easier. So I'm gonna cut that part. I'm gonna flatten it down as best as possible. You want to make sure you run your finger over it. That is so much better. Alright, so now I am going to go through one more time, flatten this out really good. You can do your best to straighten it out if you want to. It's completely up to you, especially like that piece right there. Alright, and then yeah, I'm going to go through all of the wire, flatten it down really nice. Okay, so I'm going to move my wire out of the way. Okay, and I'm going to get my ring manual. Okay, this is the side that is US, so you can see it's starts at 1, 2, 3, blah, blah, blah. Actually, I think it starts at 1.5. But anyway, I'm going to see if this will make a size 9. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get my wire as straight as possible. During the weaving process, I ended up getting it crooked and didn't mean to. But it's okay, because it's wire, it'll move. That's kind of the point of wire. Alright, I think I've got it about as straight as I'm going to get it. So, if you notice too, that if you look at the weave, that's what one side looks like. And that's what the reverse side looks like. So it has two different, completely different looks to it. And it is totally your option. You can choose to put whichever side on the top, on the front that you want. I think I'm going to go with this one. Okay, the one that was facing forward to me when I was wrapping it. And I'm going to go to a 9 right here. Now here's where you can choose, do you want this to be the bottom, or do you want this to be the bottom? I think since this one has more coiling at the end, I'm going to make that the top and I'm going to make this the bottom. So now you're going to come up and around, and you can go ahead and kind of get the coil to come about where you want it. So I would want it about like that, and then wrap that up. So as you can see right here, it wouldn't have hurt to go ahead and actually wrap just a little bit more on that end, but it'll be fine. And I'm going to push this coil together, get it really good and tight, really nice looking. There we go. So we may end up actually having to make an 8 with how much wire we've got. So that's going to look much better. That way your wraps sort of kind of meet. You know, you don't want it to look too open, because in a ways that almost looks too open. I would have preferred for where the wrap starts to meet where the wrap starts. But that's totally your option, which whatever you may want to do with it. Alright, so now, what do? We're going to take our round nose pliers, okay, take it off the ring mandrel, and do you want to leave the tail? That's up to you. I'm going to cut off a little bit, cut it to about right there, and then the second part, for right now, I think I'm going to leave that. And decide what we're going to do with it later. And then I'm just going to make some nice little spiral. You can make whatever size you want. You can make it look however you want. It's up to you. It's your ring. Do what you want. And then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to take this and kind of go with it. Let's see. I'm going to open this up. Okay. You do not have to do this. I'm just seeing what I can do. That's all. And I'm going to kind of mimic, get that in there if I can. Again, this is when nylon jaws will come in really handy. Okay. Trying to get a hold of it to give it a little bit more of a curve. There we go. And then I'm going to try to curve it back in. That doesn't look half bad. I could have done a little bit better job right there, which, let's see. There we go. That looks a little bit better. Okay. So now, let's see. I do want to straighten this just a little bit. Get it looking a little bit better. That's a bit better. Okay. So now, let's see. How do we want to do this? Let's cut these to the same length. Okay. So now here, this is where I actually am going to utilize my bent nose pliers. And I'm going to, if it'll do it. There we go. It's kind of doing it a little bit. Not so much like I wanted, but hey. So I'm going to come back through with bent nose, round nose rather, should say. And I'm actually going to curve this in a little bit more. There we go. That looks good. All right, so now just curving it on in. A little bit different from what I've done in the past, as you saw, but that's a pretty neat little design. I like that. And you can always curve that one in more if you want. So it may make a little bit smaller of a ring by the time you get done completely. But I like that. I think that's a pretty cute ring. Pretty cute. So you can see it's sitting at about a 7. We aimed for a 9. We thought we were going to get an 8. Now we got a 7. So it just shows you, you know, we really didn't have that much waste on our base wire. But like I said, we started with the 6-inch base wires, and it ended up making that. So all in all, that's not really all that bad. And you can go back through with your nylon jaw or with your round nose or whatever. If you want to get the wire to lay a little bit more flat, you come through and flatten it out, because it does tend to want to kind of move on you a little bit. So where's that now? Let's see. Get that kind of down a little bit. Yeah. So there you go. A simple, quick, easy wire wrapped ring, any way, any style you want. Any color you want. Anything. Completely your options. So this is virtually limitless to what you can do. So you guys, I hope you learned something. I hope you liked what you saw. Please give me a thumbs up. Like the video if you did like this. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so right down here. Also hit the bell notification icon if you want to see more videos from me. If you would like to make a purchase of any of the number of items that I have for sale, I will include my Etsy shop right here or down in the video description below for you to click on. And that's going to be it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.